if you've listened to my show for 5 years or so, you probably remember the name Alfonzo Rachel. I had him on my show years ago. I couldn't remember how long ago I had him on, but he's just a great American, great citizen. He's an African American who is he's a musician. He's got a band. He does musical thing. There he is, right there. He's a musician, but he also has become just an amazingly fun and interesting conservative commentator, and he's joining me. Yeah, and he's joining me right now. And he actually has a new book out, which I'll hold up for you to see. A Solid Right Cross, and the subtitle is Biblical Boxing and Conservative Counterpunching Against Leftists, Loons, and Godless Goons. I mean, he does everything touches in the most serious topics in the most entertaining way, and he likes to go by Zo. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Debbie?
I'm great. It's nice to see you on the big screen here. Nice to have you. So
good to see you.
You know, you have your new book recounts many things I want to touch on, but just to start with, I want our listeners to hear how you used to be a musician. You still are a musician, but how or why did you transition from being a musician to being a political commentator?
Well, you know, I've always known music to be a powerful medium to convey messages. I mean, it's worked greatly for the left and for the wrong reasons. And, you know, when I realized what liberalism was about, because I used to consider myself a liberal. I mean, I was raised in Southern California, come on. You know, I used to think of myself as a liberal and a Democrat, but when I found myself questioning the narrative, I saw how intolerant and unaccepting, you know, the so-called liberal musician is. And I wanted to use the music to say, hey man, let's address these issues, and they weren't having it. So I grabbed the camera, I set up shop, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to start, you know, speaking what I believe. If I can't do it with fellow musicians, I'm just going to do this. I'd still like to make some music. I'd still like to promote the message with the music, but it's difficult to do. So I went with the commentaries.
Well, I just love them. I think you even did you start in your basement? Is that right? Your garage?
Eventually, you know, I was teaching martial arts. And when I would close up shop for the evening, I would do them out of my martial arts studio. And then I just, you know, to start doing them faster, I started doing them out of my living room. People thought that was my basement because of the brick wall and stuff like that. It was actually my living room, but that's where I started doing those.
All right. Well, you've done many commentaries. I've actually pulled so many clips. I could just play clips, but I really want to hear from you. But I have a bunch of them. One is you've done a really good job arguing on the conservative side against actually, I do want to play one quick clip because it was very entertaining. During the time that Hillary Clinton was running for president, and this is Hillary Clinton, the minimum wage and small business thing. And so I didn't label these, but can you see which one that is, Matt? Okay. I want you to hear this clip. This is what you had to say. This is Alfonso talking about Hillary Clinton, the minimum wage thing.
Right. Hi, welcome to the ZoLoft. I hate you. I don't care. Democrats be like, Americans cannot afford tax cuts. Yet, Democrats insist that Americans can afford a minimum wage increase. Look here. Stop doing Common Core math with our economy. The left-wing culture likes to present itself like it's so above money, like it's so dirty. And the more you have of it, the more filthy you are. Unclean! But they always want more money. And the more they're able to force our taxes, wages, and fees to be increased, the less satisfied they are. Minimum wage increases does not mean that you're gonna be making more money. It's hard because too many people are sold on the illusion of prestige of a higher wage. But they don't understand that they're not really making more money, just like they don't understand that they're really greedy. They hate the money makers, the job creators, but they want them to be forced to pay them more money. That's greedy. The covetous want the job creators to be taxed more because the covetous think they're gonna benefit from it. That's greedy. And this greediness is blinding y'all. Where the camera at? And it makes it difficult to point out things like this. Why are you so demanding of the state to increase wages instead of being demanding of the state to decrease taxes? Let's say minimum wage is $10 an hour, but after taxes, you're left with $8 an hour. Instead of demanding the state raise $10 an hour to $12 an hour, why not demand the state to stop itself from taxing you from $10 an hour down to $8 an hour?
I will tell you, that was a long clip. And I don't know if you could see could you see what from where you are what was playing, but you honestly, to make a minimum wage discussion funny and fun and absolutely accurate, I mean, you just had to love doing that.
I do enjoy doing it, and the truth is enjoyable. People talk about the truth hurts. It's like, oh, the truth feels good to me.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about, you have worked very hard to bring your conservative message, and you've been tripped up a bit by people on the leftist media, the Googles, the YouTubes. Describe the way you think, as a black conservative being outspoken, how has social media world tried to interfere with you? What's happened in your experience?
It's quite a blow. Just to be able to, I mean, we're talking about the people who are all about the First Amendment and the right to speak your mind. And when you do speak your mind, and if it doesn't square up with their narrative, they will silence you. They've pretty much, they've really put a dent in my livelihood. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Google, it's very difficult to find me. It's cost me a lot of support. And the only thing I can do is just keep trying.
Well, you used to be on PJTV, right?
Yes, there was. That's where I had a ZoNation, and I stopped doing the ZoNation with PJTV when they went dark, and I continued on as the ZoLoft. A lot of my audience, I have over 100,000 followers on Facebook. Most of them don't even know that I do the ZoLoft. They're like, "Hey, Zo, I haven't seen any of your commentary, man. I haven't seen you in months." And the objective of these social media platforms is to keep you out of sight, out of mind. If people don't see you in their feeds, they will forget about you.
So how do people find you right now? Tell me where they go.
Thank you. If they go to my website, bronzeserpentmedia.com, just think John 3:14 through 16, bronzeserpentmedia.com. It has my social media contacts, my contacts, and what I'm doing with my book, the ZoLoft commentaries, the Zopium Den commentaries, and my band, 20 Pound Sledge.
Because I have to tell you, my husband he's the one that told me about you first. He was watching PJTV. He's like, "Have you seen this guy? He's funny and he's brilliant and he's saying true things." He was even back, I don't know when that was, like 2010. I don't know when that was, but he would say he must drive the left crazy.
Or crazier. It's not a far drive for them,
Yeah, crazier. So you've been out there really since, I mean, you began this whole effort to be a black conservative commentator right around 2000, is that right? What year did you start?
Yeah, I did my first commentary on MySpace back in 2007, where I was talking about these things. And promoting conservatism in the culture is basically been my whole standpoint, not just for blacks or people of color or whatever persuasion they are. Conservatism is something that really fits everybody. It's just this republic that we're trying to preserve. And I started doing it in them. And, with conservatives, it's been this push to have political representation. We want that, strong political representation. I've been trying to tell conservatives, like, look, you need cultural representation. Your political representation is always going to be fragile, and you're always going to think you're going to be underrepresented, and it won't stand if you don't establish cultural representation.
I'm taking notes here, Zo, because I love that expression. We need cultural representation. That's right. That whole idea that Breitbart had about the, politics are downstream from culture. And yeah, your point about culture is really, really huge. So you've been out there doing all this and giving commentary and running into some brick walls because the social media folks don't want you to give out your message. So I'm curious, I would love to ask you, like, how you respond to a couple of things that conservatives are arguing about or defending against all the time. One being, what is your response to people who say that this society is permeated with white privilege, permeated with unfairness, permeated with white supremacy? I mean, and so the whole kind of we're the victims and we're fighting back kind of sets us up as in battle before we start a discussion. So what's your reaction to all that cultural movement?
I agree. I totally agree with these people who say that there's white privilege. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton. It's like, you guys want white privilege. Why don't you guys just start there? It's like, oh, now all of a sudden get quiet. It's like, well, those who are all about white privilege, they say, hey, you know what, conservatives, go, if they want to spit that out there, go ahead and give them the rope and let them hang themselves. Since, the Democrat parties are the party of lynching anyway, The Democrat Party is the apartheid party. The Democrat Party is the party that instituted white privilege in the first place. They're the ones who pushed to demand that slavery stay legal. They're the party that demanded the revocation of civil rights. They're the ones who got in the way of voting rights. They're the party that demanded for blacks to be a second-class citizen and have the policy for white people to have all these privileges. So if people these Democrats want to talk about white privilege, I'll be like, yeah, I agree. That's all you all day.
I like that. Okay, so what do you think now about there's been actually under President Obama, it really began the whole movement of Black Lives Matter. And I think a lot of people, obviously the name of the movement is well chosen. Of course, Black Lives Matter, as do everyone, all lives, and blue lives, and everyone's lives matter. But I think we get to a point where we aren't discussing the issues anymore because we're defending against the inherent accusation of Black Lives Matter, which is you think that we don't matter, you think this doesn't matter. So what's a way forward for society to try to get past the antagonism the Black Lives Matter movement is creating?
Well, this is another one of those areas where with conservatives, I think conservatives, they really get defensive about this. And I'm sorry to say that they kind of dropped the ball. Just like I was saying, conservatives reject white privilege. They said there's no white privilege. It's like, no, actually, yes, there is. There is a history of white privilege, and it was instituted by the Democrat Party. Now, the thing with Black Lives Matter is going off the narrative that the police are abusive and they're bullies and they're this and they're that. And for conservatives, I know back to badge, back to blue and Blue Lives Matter. But you know what? Conservatives, once again, don't drop the ball because there has been a history of police being abusive to black people. And you know who they were? They were Democrats. They like to bring up, you have, these cops out there releasing dogs on black folks and releasing hoses on them. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we know that there's a history of that. That was Democrat. Bull Connor was a Democrat and a member of the KKK. All those people those cops out there that you guys are worried about that are intruding on black lives, that was in a Democrat-run state, in a Democrat-run county, in a Democrat-run municipality with a Democrat police force. They were all Democrats and members of the KKK. So we know what you're talking about. Don't blame us. Don't blame the cops in general. Don't blame white people in general. You need to narrow that down to the Democrats.
You are something. So let me ask you now, you've been outspoken for whatever that is, over 10 years anyway. Now there's a movement afoot in America, and I'm sure you're familiar with Candace Owens and her black exit from the Democrat Party. Have you been involved in that at all? What's your connection to it? What's your thought about it?
I'm not involved in it. I'm not connected with it. I can appreciate it though. And my concern with Blexit is, that it's the concept that this is a new thing. They're wanting to present themselves as this new movement. And, I'm not trying to be cynical here, but it's not new. There's been a Blexit before. It happened during the Civil War. And when you have, blacks who have walked away or even, split. And if you're leaving out of anger, you're disappointed with what, the Democrats haven't done and things and stuff like that. But if you don't have a clear direction of where you're going, you will go right back to the Democrat Party. It's happened before. We had blacks that were, after the Civil War, freed, were voting Republican, and somehow they went right back to the Democrat Party. And this was before the so-called party switch. And it can happen again. I mean, even the Bible tells you that, hey, this stuff happens. Is the Israelites, hey, they walked away too. And guess what they wanted to do? They wanted to go right back to Egypt. So, if you don't have a clear understanding of what it is that you're walking toward and a standard of what it is that you're basing your view on, you will walk around in a big circle and you go right back to your oppressors.
Well, I love that what you've been doing over the years is trying to lay out what conservatism means, what it stands for, why it's the right, and maybe conservative isn't the right word that you would use, but what the values of the Republican Party are that you say are of appeal to everyone. They're giving people what they should be walking toward, not just walking away.
Indeed. That's right. And that's where it calls for a standard. And definitely conservatism and being a Republican is an ideal fit. It works together. As a Republican, we understand that we enjoy a constitutional republic, and we have a set of laws that acknowledge the God-given right, our God-given rights. And we don't want to take liberties with that, because once you do, that's where oppression comes in. We have to be conservative with that and stick to the letter of what it says. This is what preserves liberty. And if we could just keep to that, but the problem is that we keep trying to define what conservative means to us. We can't do that. We have to agree on what conservatism is, a standard. And I highly recommend that the Bible be that standard, that foundation of what we build it on. That's the preservation of liberty right there.
It absolutely is. And actually, you make that point in your book, too, about I think there are, in the conservative movement, in the GOP, there are people who kind of want to talk about limited government and low taxation and free enterprise and all sorts of they're good things, but they're not rooted in anything that is reliable and consistent. And you frequently, in your writings and your speaking, go back to what the Bible teaches as really the core of conservatism, GOP, and ultimately really America. Is that right?
Indeed, because when we talk about making America great, again, I'm all for it. But what is it that people think makes America great? Is it the economy? Is it having jobs? There's people who have a lot of money who are getting divorced at high rates. They're committing suicide. They're alcoholics. They're drug addicts. So don't tell me that money is what's going to do it. There's people with great dream jobs, prestigious. We hear people who have these great jobs and stuff like that, and they're still not satisfied. That's not what it's going to take. That's not the staple of what makes America great. These are some deep-rooted issues that need to be taken care of at its core. And these are things that I discuss, in my book on how to convey this message, because this translates into illegal immigration, abortion, marriage, gun rights. It translates into all of those things of how they can be eroded while we're trying to pursue making America great with what? With money? A great job? We got to go deeper than that.
I love that you say that. And you question in your book whether there were some times where you didn't make as much headway in the conservative movement or just in media generally, because talking about the root of what you believe in to be America being in the Bible and the Bible's teachings and the truth about the nature of God and man and our rights as his creation, that makes people uncomfortable. Some people, they just want to say, well, can we just leave the religion part out and just get with my agenda on the following items: tax, tariffs, whatever the list of issues are. And I love that you're saying, no, that's just not enough. That's what you're really saying. It's not deep enough.
Indeed. And this is actually where and to take them deeper with me, I agree with them. I say, you're exactly right. We do need to leave the religion out of it. And Jesus would agree with you. Leave the religion out of it. Because religion is something that we can all do to try to shape a merit system for ourselves. And religion is not the measure. The Lord is. His statutes are the measure. And this is not a religion. So, but the thing is, people do want to leave this up because they don't want to obey God. They want to be on his good side and use God to say that they're a good person. But it's like, no, you're exactly right. That's not enough. It's not what it takes. And we need to obey his instructions on how to make this work.
Today when I was getting ready for this interview, I went into YouTube, put your name in, went into Google, and I actually got a variety of things to come up on YouTube. And I was for our listeners, I'll say, because I can't play them all today, but you've done so much commentary on so many different issues. Like you have one that relates to, you're speaking to Black Americans, saying, why would you say that only white people can be racist? Do you remember? I don't know if you remember that one, but you have and a really great description about minimum wage and how it hurts business owners. And also even within the Black culture, maybe this is a good one to wrap it up on, but you talk about in the Black culture, the use of the N-word and how you say that it's not a healthy thing. I'll tell you a quick, funny aside or interesting aside for you and our listeners. So in college, in the law firm, I used to practice law, and I was a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding. She was a lawyer in the same firm as I was, and I was a bridesmaid in her wedding, and she was a bridesmaid in mine. Well, she's Black. She grew up in L.A. in Watts, and so I went up to be there for the weekend. And so her husband-to-be and all of his friends were there, and they had a big party on the Friday night before the wedding. And it was really fun. It was at the mom's house, although she wasn't there. And I had never heard the N-word said so often. I never heard it at all, actually. I'm kind of a cupcake. I grew up in upstate New York in a small town. I never heard anyone say that word. So driving home with my husband, I said, I cannot believe all these young men were using that word in a friendly, happy way. And my husband was saying, you know, you're such a cupcake, because my husband played a lot of basketball, and hanging around in the locker room, he said, it's a very common thing. You know, not that he would ever say it, or our son who played college ball told me the same thing. They would never say it. But it was such a common thing in black culture that it was kind of, it wasn't meant in a mean way. But you had some different thought. I could play your clip. I'm just curious, if you want to talk about it, what's the reason you say it's not healthy to use the N-word within the black culture?
Well, it's definitely not healthy to do because, just like you said, they're using it in a friendly manner and so on and so forth. And for them, they chalk it up to a term of endearment. But here's the thing: wait till they get mad at each other. When they get angry, and as we unfortunately within the black community, the highest violent crime rate against within a race within itself is the black community. And when they get to cussing at each other, they're gonna throw that N-word around a lot. When they get to throwing blows with each other, they're gonna throw that N-word around a lot. And when they get to firing off rounds at each other, they're gonna use that word a lot. So it has nothing to do with a term of endearment. At the end of the day, its core is hatred. So it's not a good thing to say to each other. It's a word that was created. It's basically a lazy way of saying Negro, right? Which just means black. There's nothing offensive about the term Negro, but then people got lazy with it and used it as a term to dehumanize. You know, some people will say that it's another word, you know, out of the English word, you know, out of the English language that it came out there. But there's different, you know, etymologies for it. But the bottom line is that it's used to dehumanize someone. When you have black people out there saying it to each other, you're basically they're making it a habit of dehumanizing each other, and then blacks wonder why they're probably one of the most insecure races in America. They condition each other to be insecure.
Wow. I am so glad I asked that question. You're really a wonderful, great thinker. We're speaking to, you've tuned in late, too bad for you, we're speaking to Alfonzo Rachel, who goes by Zo. And so tell us again, tell our people how to find you. You can go to, I mentioned you can just put your name in on YouTube, but people want to follow your videos, re-follow you if you've lost track of him. He hasn't stopped talking about America, conservatism and the goodness of America, and the roots in the Bible for America's greatness. But tell people how to find you again. Give them all the reasons, the way they can do that.
Thank you so much. As my website to catch everything is bronzeserpentmedia.com. Just think John 3:14 through 16. It's got my social media contacts, my book, A Solid Right Cross, my band, 20 Pound Sledge, my commentaries, the ZoLoft and the Zopium Den, and I hope to see you there.
Okay, I'm sorry, your blog at ZoLoft?
Yeah, that's my video blog, the ZoLoft. Yes, it used to, when it was on PJTV, it was ZoLoft, but I'm on as ZoLoft.
Okay, first of all, I just want to congratulate and commend you. I love your spirit, because you're bringing really serious messages, really important points about America and our culture, and lifting people up toward a better life, but in an absolutely entertaining way. I think you're just wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you. And you know, and speaking of entertainment, and I also had I played in the Gosnell movie, which is another movie, a piece that we're trying to put out there to raise awareness about the horrors of abortion. So, if folks, it's out on DVD now, and I played Detective Stark, who is the police partner of Dean Cain's character, Detective Woods. Okay, please, let's take. Can you have 2 more minutes? I'm sorry, I left my list at home of questions for you, so I'm like winging it here, but. On the Gosnell movie, we talked about in the show for the Gosnell movie, it's actually a true story really related to a doctor whose last name was Gosnell, who was just a horrifically evil abortionist, and what became of having him ultimately arrested, prosecuted, convicted, and sent off to jail was awareness of what really happens inside abortion clinics when it is portrayed by Planned Parenthood as being kind of a, you know, gentle, caring, loving thing. But in the Gosnell movie, first of all, congratulations for being in it. That's cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's a #1 independent release movie of 2018, and it's a #1 seller right now on Amazon. Yeah, I urge everyone to see the Gosnell movie. Well, it had to be actually really emotional, even to play the part of a police officer. It had to be really emotional to do that movie, to act in it, was it? Indeed, you know, it's a you know, for me, it's not a touchy subject. It's like, I understand it's a touchy subject for other people. It's like, look, there's no need to walk on eggshells here. It's like we got people that are getting slaughtered. You know, let's not beat around the bush here. and to do the role, you know, you're in this, you're walking around in a house of horrors. You know, you're seeing a whole bunch of bags on the floor, and every one of those bags is literally a body bag, and they were piled up around this office. And it's a horror story. It's not a horror movie, but this isn't play. This isn't fiction. I mean, abortion has taken a new leap in New York. It's taken a new leap in Virginia. You can go ahead and give, you know, birth to the kid and then go into a waiting room and have a discussion on whether you're going to let the kid live or not.
Oh, I know. We've been all over that story in the show. The New York law, then the Virginia law. Rhode Island passed it, I think. Virginia got stymied in it because the American public became aware of it, and they just kind of got shamed out of it. But back to the Gaston movie for a moment. I know that there was a lot of public outcry about him, but so abortion is legal. I mean, in the state he was performing, it was legal. So what was it he was doing that was illegal?
Well, you know, it was the drugs. It was, you know, he had his staff, minors, they were dealing drugs out of his clinic. They were administering drugs, and also even inducing the abortion. So it was not just the abortion itself, but in the manner of unlicensed people doing it. And also, like I said, the drug trafficking and stuff like that. That's what got him picked up on radar. But he was doing this for like 17. He was doing his whole practice for over 30 years. But he went untouched by the medical industry, the police, the media. Excuse me. He went untouched by these people for like 17 years, just doing what he was doing, slaughtering kids that were birthed. They were birthed. I
was going to say, and they were late term or born baby. So sorry, go ahead. Excuse me.
No, there's hundreds, maybe even thousands.
Yeah, and these are not just, these are late term, partial birth, or actually born alive, going ahead and killing them. That was his practice of medicine.
Well, you know, the thing is that it wasn't even partial birth abortion with him. He would have the women induce labor. He was birthing the babies. They were coming out completely, and while they were, you know, alive, breathing, he would kill them.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that movie was made. I think it opened a lot of eyes in America. I think they've had a lot of sense in America that somehow, especially when it's early term, it's kind of well, we don't like it very much, but you know, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. This really put it right in front of the American people's faces. So I'm glad the movie was made, and I commend you. Thank you so much for being willing to step up and be in it.
You know, it's somebody's got to do it. I'm thankful it was.
Okay. Well, Zoe, it was so great to talk with you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
And with that, folks, this guy, I'm telling you, you've got to tune in to him. Find him on social media, on Facebook. You can find him on his website, and look at some of the videos he does, because he makes the most tender, challenging, deep subjects. He makes many complicated subjects fun, easy to listen to. He does humor, and it's kind of very much upfront. It's not, I mean, it's just a staggeringly important. He's a really great figure in America, and a great figure to keep in mind when you think the world, no, not very many black conservatives speaking up. This guy's been speaking up. He mentioned 2007 as the earliest time he was on PJTV, but in another video, he'd been talking about how it occurred to him in the music industry in the late 1990s, getting to 2000. He was surrounded by people in the music world who did not agree with anything he thought. And he thought, you know, I've got to have a way, a means somehow that I can get my message out to the world.